With me today is a gentleman that through his career gained more respect probably than any other player by his peers, the 1979 world champion at his first attempt, Terry Griffiths. Terry, welcome.
How are you, Steve?
It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Mainly because I just want to criticise you in general for so many things over the years, to get my own back for the things that you've said about me. First attempt.
Yeah.
One of the most amazing moments started your career off.
Well, yes, it was
Professional career,
different days, of course. I mean, I had to win a few
Long time ago.
qualifying rounds, and the quality of the players weren't quite what they are today. But I don't think the feat will be repeated. But I was 30 years of age. I mean, today when they turn professional, they're 16, 17. I can't see anybody at that age winning the World Championships first attempt, can you? But not in today's standard, anyway.
No, but turning professional at the age of 30, you obviously had a load of experience from your amateur days, and of course the Valleys produced some marvellous players at amateur level as well, who never even bothered to turn professional, who probably could have at the time. But you all of a sudden turned professional very late on, roughly the same time as myself. You may well have been ready playing-wise to win the World Championship, but I wouldn't have thought mentally you were ready to win at a different level amongst players that you looked upon probably as idols.
Yeah.
That must have been
right.
incredible.
Well, that's why I turned professional, to see if I could compete against the best players in the world. I didn't do it for any other reason, the same as you, really. It's not for, you know, fame, glamour and money and cups. It's really just see if you can beat the best players, and that's what I wanted to do. And like I didn't do a century till I was 24 years of age. I mean, it's different times. I worked till I was like 30 years of age in jobs and pinch hour practice here and there, and I used to enter events. I entered the Welsh Championships when I was 24 years of age. So I had a bit of experience, but nothing in relation to what today's players get. I mean,
yes, they're teens.
Yeah, by the time they're teens now, they're hardened professionals, believe it or not. I mean, they're not in life, but they certainly are in the game of professional snooker. I mean, for me, it was work, a bit of snooker, win a few titles amateur-wise, and then the huge decision for me, which was, excuse me, slightly different from you. I was married with children. I had to make a decision, do I want to pack in my job, which I was quite comfortable as an insurance agent with the mortgage and what have you, or do I want to, you know, see if I can beat the best players in the world? So it took me 2 years to decide. After winning the English Championships, which more or less entitled me to become a professional in those days, Annette and myself decided that I'd give it a go. I'd give myself 3 years, and if I didn't do anything, I'd go back to work.
Because, as I say, you know, it was 20 years ago. The game was a lot different. There was nowhere near the amount of players in there, and before that time, there wasn't any money in the game, so to speak of, to even warrant turning professional in one respect. But also, it wasn't the done thing, in a way, to turn professional. I mean, it was only the new wave of players coming through. But you were older than Willie Thorne and John Virgo and Patsy Fagan, but they turned professional before you.
Yes, I mean, for different reasons, obviously, but I didn't really see the point in it. There was 2 tournaments then, which was the UK Championships and the Embassy World Championships. There was the pot black, but I'd never get in that as invitation. So there was no real opportunity to get into events. And if you didn't get in events and do well, you wouldn't get any exhibition work. So in other words, you couldn't earn any money unless you were fortunate enough, like you know, us two were really, and get in there early, have some success, and then, you know, the world's your oyster, so to speak. But I mean, there's very little chance in those days. Today, I mean, look at the tournaments they got today. I mean, okay, there's lots of good players out there, but I wouldn't mind that with the opportunities they've got now. There's so many events now from junior level up into the professional game. If you're good enough and there's a lot of events, you'll make the grade, won't you? If you're not good enough, don't worry about it. Doesn't make any difference.
No, at least you're no quick enough to do something else.
Well, I give myself 3 years when I started. I mean, today, as you know, there's a lot of players being professional, 15 years or something, and scraping to find their entry fees, and I can't understand it. I would have gone to work. I would have gone back to work after 3 years. I couldn't afford it not to, really.
No.
I mean, you know, it's...
So insurer, I can't imagine you as a... Before you were insurance agent, you were also a bus conductor.
Yeah, I started off in the mines when I was 15 for a huge £5 a week. I went as a bus conductor, Nicknamed
When you so stop you just when you say mines.
in the colliery.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But what we all get this picture of what was your job exactly? Well, yeah, we get the picture of terrible.
Well, I wasn't a chief executive, put it that way, at 15. But
Right. So what was
no,
it?
I had a wonderful experience in my life, to be honest. There, I came out of school, went into the job that paid the most because we didn't have no money in the family. If you took an apprenticeship in those days, it was 30 shillings a week. And in the mines, it was £5 when I went, you know. And,
So what was a day like?
Well, I got up at 4:45 and catch a bus catch a train and up to the mine. I start work at 6, get back home at 3:30, go straight to bed, get up the next morning and start again. I was 15 and I was humping like big pieces
underground?
of, you know. I wasn't underground. You don't go underground straight away. You get training on top. But my job is quite funny, really. There was this conveyor belt. And you had to screen the stuff out. There was coal in there and there was some slag, you know, I mean so anyway, I was there 15, full of fuss, you know, here I am, big and strong, you know. So the guy said, take your time and just bring the small ones off. I thought, okay, mate, you know what I mean, full of it, and you know. So this big piece came down and I've gone, I guess, you know, next thing I'm going down the conveyor belt with it. There's a guy pulling me off and he gave me a clip and said, take your time, no, take the smaller ones first. And the work was so hard, I used to go home to bed when I finished every day.
So you didn't actually go underground?
Yes, I did go underground. I trained a bit, excuse me, on the surface, as we called it. It's a drift mine, which is going, you know, not a shaft straight down. And I mean, I went underground. I mean, tremendous experience to see what happens under there. A bit more modern, of course, than it was in the earlier years. I mean, you could see, you know, the dust wasn't that bad, but to see the men going down there, and I seen a few people killed, which was a huge influence on my life, really. And I suppose the best thing I remember about the mines, taken when I was 15, is the first day I went in the showers. That was a bit of an experience. So I got in and I was blonde. I was very, very blonde when I was young. And of course, with all the dust, my hair was like filthy. So I thought, I've got to get my hair clean. So I walked in the shower the first day, you're black, obviously. And there's a big row then of just open cubicles of men, about 30, 40 men. And at 15 in those days, I was so naive, I didn't realise all men were different. And I come up to the end of the show and I've gone, and I looked like that and I thought, good God. And I went in and that never went out of my head again. I mean, that was it then. The next day it didn't make any difference. You just went in there. But things you remember, you never forget people who were killed. I mean, that was part of colliery life, not just in Wales, but anywhere really. It sort of knitted the community together. When somebody was killed, it was, I don't know, we can't explain it, but at 15 it was a hell of an experience to you know, be part of that. But a great part of growing up for me, really.
I suppose I know it's just getting off the subject slightly, my first memory of Wales was seeing the Aberfan disaster on the television.
Yeah. That was terrible.
Which was now, how long ago was that? 60s?
60s, that would have been, yeah. Yeah, that was terrible when the side of the mountain came down and crushed the school and all the schools. It wiped out a village, it did, a whole village of primary school children. I mean, that is a disaster, isn't it? That's terrible, that is. It's a generation gone. Yes. Really, you know, that's, yeah, in the 60s that was.
And in a way, the Welsh snooker players have always seemed quite a tight, I mean, the whole of the valleys is a tight-knit community in a way. It seems divorced from even northern Wales. It is really, but in snooker terms, it's very good because it's such a close sort of proximity to everybody, yes. You know, to play. So, like, I had the opportunity to play all the best players in the valley, which is now a drive away. I mean, you live in like London. I mean, you're not going to play somebody in Newcastle very often. I can tell you, not in those days, because you know the road links weren't the same. But what it did offer me is the chance to go and play the Alwyn Lloyds, Mario Bernies, all the top Welsh players, Terry Parsons and all those people. Just down the road. Yeah, well, it's an hour, which is in those days was a long drive. And I mean, that's where I learnt my trade. I had a few armourings, I can tell you. I had Were you few playing, when did you start playing snooker? I started when I was 13, which would have been 1960. I only played casual. I played the local league only. And I had success early on, but I mean, there was no profession, there was no structure then, so I just played because I loved playing. So you'd be doing your job down the mine, down the mine, waiting for the moment the bell rung to go and have a game of snooker.
Yeah, well...
Did that take over your life
right.
then? Or?
Well, yes, I used to pinch and have some time to play, or, you know, I don't, in all my jobs. When I went to the post office, I'd finish sort of early lunchtime, obviously, because I started so early. And then I'd run around my second delivery when I was walking as a postman, you know, for the vans. And run out to the YMCA then, pinch an hour of practice and go home to sleep. Because the hours were so early, it just dictated your life. Getting up at 4 every day, I mean, it was, you're forever tired.
And old habits die very hard, don't they? Because on the circuit, let's face it, you're a total pain in the neck in the morning. Because you come down for breakfast and you're as bright as a button, and then there's all of us come down and we're all in pieces. We're all like just about surviving through breakfast,
Yeah, I know.
especially if it's an early game. But you're like full of the joys of spring, bright and breezy, cracking jokes, and then we're all going, keep quiet, Tel. Can you? It's like, look.
But there was nobody there for me to talk to. You're all in bed.
And then all of a sudden, come 9 o'clock at night, and you're right. I'm off to my bed.
Everybody else going out for a meal. I know that's a bit late for me.
It's a bit late.
No wonder. It's just the way. I suppose it's just the way of life. I still get up early in the morning. I go to bed 10 o'clock every night. And
you can't get out of the habit.
I love the morning times, especially even now this time of year. But in the summer,
I suppose didn't you sort through the mail in the hotel?
Well, I didn't quite do that, but I rang you a few times to try and wake you up if you didn't recall. But I mean, it's
just don't. I never tell you my room number.
A bomb couldn't have woke you up.
No,
till
not at all. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, bye, Tel. See you in another couple of hours. See you for lunch. So did you get your first championship, your first trophy at junior level or whatever, amateur level, with a post bag over your back then? You were...
No, I was in the colliery. I won the local town championship when I was 16, and the owners of the club, Dolly and Maisie, give me a guinea. A guinea.
Dolly
and
Maisie.
Huge amount. Dolly and Maisie Hatcher, they were called. And they give me a guinea, because I was Snowy, the young lad who played in the club, and I won the town championships, which I was very proud of.
Llanelli. That's a tough word to say.
But my whole life, you know, revolved around playing in the Llanelli League. I used to take rest days then in the post office. So when I had to play away the next day in Ammanford, which is like 12 miles away, I'd have a special rest day so I didn't have to get up the next morning after travelling all the way to Ammanford. I remember travelling like 30 miles up to a place called near Bridgend, Kempfig Hill, in a Rover 2000. I thought I was in Hollywood. I mean, I'd never gone so far to play a snooker match. I mean, I was like 17 years of age. I mean, when I was 21, it's the first time I went to London, and I was with Annette, my wife, on honeymoon. Really? And I got off in Paddon and got in the taxi, like, you know, at 21 years of age, came to Hyde Park Corner, and I was like, yes. Like, I thought, what's all these cars here? Like, my hands were gripping. There was all these lanes of cars. What's happening here? You know, can't put up with this. It's a bit too fast.
At a hotel? At a hotel?
No, this is Hyde Park Corner in the taxi.
All right.
Going around all these layouts.
But you obviously stayed in the hotel. Did you stay at Hyde Park?
No, we went to, I was in, you know, we had a honeymoon in Annette's grandfather's house in Kent. We didn't have no money. So, you know. But snooker-wise, yeah, I went on and won regional events, and then, for some unknown reason, somebody said, when you enter the Welsh Championship, well, that's a good idea. I was 24 years of age. I mean, it's incredible when I think back. But of course, I mean, Reed and Spencer...
There was no rush, was there?
No, there was no rush, but they were like in their 30s when they turned pro, you see, Reed and Spencer. And I sort of followed in that. I mean, but since then, I know you were a lot younger. It's just you look a lot older than me. But since that, they've gone so young, haven't they? I mean, today... I don't really like to see young players of 16 and 17 going on the road as professional snooker players. I think they miss something out in life, and as a professional player as well. I don't think it's great myself.
Well, unfortunately, I suppose that the start of the professional was my era, because I didn't have a proper 9-to-5 job at all. No. So I went straight from school to more or less falling into being semi-professional. And you don't, in a way, you only learn one trade.
That's right.
It's a bit of a bizarre world on the snooker circuit. It's a bit of a false world. You can live in it as in a bubble. But in a way, I feel a bit not guilty. I resent the fact that perhaps in a way that I haven't had some other experiences. Yeah, because they sound great.
You did change I wouldn't have changed my life at all, but I mean, you did change the shape of snooker in one way because of what you just said. You came in as a young boy, very ambitious, totally dedicated. When all the pros on the circuit were either married with a few children or like playing the exhibition circuit every night, it's totally, they didn't have time to practice. You try, you're in Cornwall one day and Hartlepool the next or something, doing a show in the Workmen's Club. The Reardons, the Spencers, Higgins, all the players of that era. But you come in and change things a bit because you were different. Apart from being miserable and ugly, you're also totally dedicated. And you were something fresh on the circuit, so everybody thought, well, what does this guy want? And then you kept winning tournaments. And I remember watching you for the first time. And it was in Pontins, in table 5 or 6 upstairs. And somebody said, oh, this young boy's from London. And I always used to watch when, people come into the game. And I watched you on the table and I thought, good God, you look perfect. You looked as if you were made for a snooker table. You lost that. You actually lost the game. But I mean, I didn't go to watch that. I'd gone to see you, And you must have been, I don't know, Steve, perhaps 17 or 18 then. I don't know, when you went to Pontins.
Yeah, around that time, yes.
But he looked so right on the table. And when you turned pro, obviously Barry Hearn sort of got behind you after a little while and sort of pushed you and promoted you. But you brought different things. You were the first player, I suppose, that delved deeply into the technical side. And you were very technically correct anyway. And that changed other people's views of playing. I don't mean me, but I mean the players at the time, because you changed things around. Not unlike Stephen Hendry's done in the 90s by changing the way of the aggressive style of play, and you've done that in the 80s.
Well, I remember first watching you play. Well, I'd say remember first. When you first came on the scene, and probably when you won the World Championship, your style of standing and of bridging was very different to how it is now, or how it ended up.
Yeah.
You used to stand, and I think I'd be right in saying that when you won the World Championship, you stood with both your feet together, roughly. They were a lot closer together, and you had your bridge. So this was a table, and this was the Terry Griffiths bridge that won the 1979 World Championship. And this is the table, and your bridge would be with your fingers all together, like that. And it was just a basic. Plonk your hand on the table.
Yeah, that's right.
And you just got on with it, and you changed the game overnight in the respect that you may have been in a similar situation. There's all these top pros doing all these exhibitions, and you weren't. You were home practicing. It may have been as simple as that.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair comment, because what I found myself, because I had this work in, when I finished work, 6 months before I started playing professionally, or 5 months. I went into a club, played 3 hours in the morning, because that's the only time I could get in there, put the children to school, and that had to go to work, obviously, to help to support us. So I'd go in for 3 hours in the morning, go and take the children, pick the children up, make their food, make Annette's food. She'd come home. I'd go back for another 3 hours in the evening. So this happened for a few weeks, and I thought, Christ, am I playing well or what? I mean, I'd never played like that in my life before. I'd never played that many hours before.
Right.
And all of a sudden, without sitting down and saying, I'm getting a better player, it just hits you. So I'm thinking, God, I'm doing a lot of 100 breaks all of a sudden. And I think, well, it's all this practice. And I was fresh. Look, I mean, it is all good into the profession game. You had it. I thought, next thing I qualify for the Crucible. And I think, well, this is great. I'm playing great. And, I'm not going to win, but who cares anyway? I'm here.
Enjoying it, yeah.
Yeah, and then I beat a few players. I'm thinking, hold on a minute, I can beat these guys. But it goes along.
But I had turned professional, didn't have a care in the world.
No.
You've turned professional at the same time as me, right? With roughly the same time. I think it was the same day.
Yeah, more or less
the same. And all of a sudden, you've got worry of financial problems. Your kids at school.
Well, they're not problems, to be honest with you. No, they weren't problems.
You didn't have to work, wasn't the problem? It was quite nice.
I used to do what I done in my first year. Like my wife went to work, but she worked before that at times, between the children. But what I do, I sent out hundreds of letters to clubs in Wales for exhibition work, and I was getting the odd one that kept some income coming in. But Annette was working as well, and I planned my finances quite well, even in those days. But there was no hardness about that. I mean, I think it gave me a very, very sort of straightforward way of looking at life, you know, and I'd never change it. I mean, you've experienced children and marriage now. It's totally different from what it was when you started. But I don't regret any of that. But I mean, there's no doubt that I couldn't compete at the same level as you because of it. I mean, apart from skill. But at the time, you were so dedicated. You were like I was, I suppose, coming in fresh. You had nothing else in your mind. And when I turned professional with you, like I won the MBC World Championships immediately. Next thing, I was the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, my diary was like 6 months in advance. I had no time to play. I mean, it was here, there, and everywhere, and loved it, don't get me wrong, but I couldn't play. I couldn't practice enough time, you know, because there was no tournaments at all then. Very few, you know, for us to play in, so.
Turned professional, first major tournament. I don't know why I wasn't in it. I'm not too sure we did turn professional exactly at the same time. But anyway, you were eligible to enter the UK Championship, which was in the November of 1978. And you turned professional in the summer of '78.
That's right.
Okay, first big tournament, first round, and that particular tournament was being promoted by my manager, who was getting more into snooker, Barry Hearn, who had the qualifying rounds of the tournament, the early qualifying rounds, at the Matchroom Snooker Club in Romford, which had a match table, which was a decent table, a table which you'd previously won the English Amateur Championship on, and blasted everybody away, the opposite, and played in a room that you were familiar with as well. And all of a sudden, you came back to a successful venue for yourself to play the first round against a player who was past his best at the game of snooker, or was considered not a force within the game. A gentleman who everybody knows called Rex Williams, more of a billiard player possibly, good snooker player, but wasn't necessarily going to go the distance in the tournament because of the likes of Ray Reardon, John Spencer, Alex Higgins, all those players. And you were the up-and-coming player, and you came into that tournament, and I watched the match unfold, which was fascinating. Because
it's fascinating for you, maybe, one for me.
It was fascinating. After the first session, the best of 17 frames, you must have been 7-1.
Yeah, I was. Yes, sorry. I was 8-2 up. Was my best of the 17. I think that was the ultimate. 8-2.
7-1.
Yeah.
Feeling quite happy with yourself at the interval.
Well, I would like to be 8-0, but yes, I was quite pleased to be 7-1.
Quite pleased. First match.
I mean, Rex was a very good player.
Of course.
But he was going through a lean spell at that time. He's a very skillful player, but as you know, you were there. Like I kept losing frames, and what I done wrong? I mean, I learned a tremendous lesson from that event.
8-2 in front, you lost 9-8.
8-2 in front.
8-2 in front, you lost 9-8. Yeah. Tell me about it.
I went. I kept going back and forth to the toilet, which I had to go through the snooker club and coming back again. And every time I went through, the guy gone, "Have you won?" And I said, No, he just won another frame. And I thought, it didn't matter anyway, does it? He's not going to win. I'm like him 8-2 in front. I was all over him like a rash, playing great. And all of a sudden, it turned to me a bit. And I mean, you'd perhaps see it better from, you know, a player's perspective. It isn't great. But I mean, he won a few good frames. Next thing is 8-7. I thought, starting to worry a bit now. Came to 8-all. And I know there's a release a bit then, isn't there? Because it's decider. And I think I played all right in the decider. But I mean, I potted the pink in the black pocket and went off in the middle. And you need pink and black. And it was never in an off shot unless I would have put side in it. You know, it is, perhaps your head is not quite so clear as it should be at that stage. And I lost 9-8. And to be honest with you, I developed a river because I cried so much. I went down to Eastbourne for John Hughes and I couldn't stop crying. I had 2 tournaments to play in that year. I'd already planned, I was playing Graham Miles up in Preston, the Guildhall, if I had beaten Rex Williams, which obviously I was going to do at 8-2 up.
Yeah.
And it was quite a blow. It took 3 months for me to recover from that, but it didn't half strengthen me up a bit, I can tell you. When I got to the World Championships then in Sheffield, there was no way anybody was going to beat me if I was in front of them. And that's the lesson I learned. I mean, when you get, I mean, you know the saying, no pain, no gain. And Jesus, did I have some pain over that match. I only had 2 events a year. Yeah. And that was one of them. You were there, you experienced.
I watched it. It was just a horrifying thing. Because we came through the amateur ranks together, developed a sort of friendship. You never become
No,
At that age, you don't. But yeah, you follow each other's career. You came down there, and I watched the game unfold. It was absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, it's an amazing match.
But fascinating and entertaining as well. Of course, as snooker always is.
But would I have won the World Championships if I'd have beaten Rex Williams?
You may have won the UK Championships.
No, you don't know, though.
You just
Perhaps
don't know.
I'd have lost the next round the UK and never be seen again.
Perhaps you'd have retired 20 years later.
But it was. You see, I always believe in things when you look back at them. Okay, it's easy with hindsight, but I think you deserve a kick every so often. And that was a kick for me, but it was very early in my professional career. And when I went to Sheffield, it's something I achieved, which I've always done in Sheffield, is been able, because of that experience in my life and what it done to me, because you've had similar ones, I know, I just totally blanked the scoreboard. I had the ability, the focus of mind, that I didn't know what the score was. I knew what if I needed the yellow to win the frame, but if you ask me what is the frame scores, are you 4-all, 5-4 in front, I wouldn't know. I had that wonderful ability, which I still say came from that Rex Williams match, because that's what I'd done. So in other words, if I was 8-2 up in the Crucible, I wouldn't have known. I knew I was in front, but I wouldn't look at the scoreboard.
Just playing, yeah.
And it gave you just then played snooker, because the scoreboard can dictate you, even in a frame. But if you look at the scoreboard on your 5 frames in front or 5 frames behind, it dictates your thoughts on your play. So I had, at times, not all the time, you know, I mean, it's difficult to do it all the time in the Crucible, at times, I was at perfect peace in my mind, which is very special. You don't get that many times in your life, in anything in life, really, do you?
No, I had quite a troubled start to my professional career at the Crucible, because I had a ham sandwich in my game. The year you won the World Championships, I had a game with Dennis Taylor. It was dragging on a bit. And the promoter at the time, Bruce Donkin, came down, and the tournament director came down and asked me, "It's going on a bit." He said, "Anything you need?" I said, "I'd like a tea." He said, "Anything to eat?" I said, "I'll have a ham sandwich. Getting a bit hungry." And the next day I was in the papers for bringing the game into disrepute for eating a ham sandwich. And at that time you were in the first round.
Yeah, you were quite a slow player, to be honest, but I can understand people eating sandwiches watching you playing. But you lost to Dennis Taylor, didn't you? 13-11. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Dennis, I played Dennis in the final, as it turned out. But no, that was both our first. And I remember you saying it was, did you say it was like a cemetery or a cathedral, the Crucible? I remember these things.
I don't remember that.
You were asked what you thought of your first appearance at the Crucible, because,
really?
you know, you sort of, and you said it was either it is so quiet, isn't it? When you go in there, it's such a build-up. When you go in there, it's like...
Everybody's
so
scared.
Quiet.
Everybody's
yes,
scared,
there's no noise, and it's like atmosphere's thick, you know, and you pick up the key when it goes like this or something, you know, and it's like very special place, obviously.
The first round, of course, where the tables, the venue split into two, the tables are quite cramped. And you're probably the closest you are ever to the crowd.
Yeah, yeah.
At the Crucible, you actually feel like they're sitting on your shoulder when you're playing the shot. I think that's the unnerving part, that you can smell the crowd. Oh, you really can.
Well, I mean,
but you smelt it and quite liked it.
I love the Crucible. When you go there like I did, I suppose early on. I mean, you had success early on. I actually played you the following year. I was defending champion. The following year, I had to draw a non-seed. And all the non-seeds looked at them. I thought, well, that's handy. I can't lose to any of them. I thought, I don't fancy playing Steve, because you were like coming good at the time. And I drew you. I mean, how's my form? I'm thinking, yeah. So, like, I was like 7-0 down, I think, against you, or 7-1. Then you went to 10-3 in front of me, and it wasn't 10-3. I could have won a few games. I mean, it was 10-3, you whack, you know. I mean, you were all over me like a rash. And all of a sudden, I got that stage when you don't care anymore, do you? I was defending champion. I mean, and next thing I got you to 10-all.
Oh no!
And I played a blue. Off the pink into the corner pocket. It's only blue, pink, and black left. And now I was going to beat you. You'd gone by now. And I went for this blue off the cushion onto the pink and pot. I couldn't believe it. I missed it, which was a stupid shot, to be honest. So I got carried away. You made the 3 balls, and you done 112 in the next game, and he won 13-10.
Is the cue ball going in? No. A smile all over his face now.
I will imagine that he'll dribble this pink to the top pocket.
And it's there. The world champion is out of the championship. Defeated by this 22-year-old Londoner, who in fact has been a professional for only 19 months. A great victory at 13 frames to 10.
I remember you saying you thought you'd lost and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
But you lost to Higgins in the next round.
Yes.
And the following year you won the championships. But you still had some good
it,
early
yes.
thoughts of the Crucible. And it's very special, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, I used to love going there, same as you, when it's win or lose. It's great, you know.
5 rounds? Yes, 5 rounds to win the World Championship from the Crucible. First round for you? The year you won?
No, it had been 16 when I went there. So it was 4. I had to play 2
Only
or 3
4 rounds.
qualifiers. Then I played in the last 16, quarter-final, semi-final. That's right, 4 rounds.
4 rounds. Your
Yeah,
first
but they were long. They were long.
Well, they were with you.
No, I don't mean with me. They were longer with me. But I mean, the final was first at 23. Semi was first at 19. I mean, they were unlike me. I was only just telling. I've only played 3 hours practice twice a day. I'd never experienced this.
Oh, the final. Yeah, what was the first round,
too
though?
long.
The race to 10?
25. No.
The first round was the
25,
first
yeah.
to 13 frames.
Yeah, that's right, to start with.
Who was that against?
Terry Mons from South Africa, who was runner-up the previous year. And then I won that 13-8. Played Higgins, Alex Higgins, won that 13-12, which was a wonderful match. I mean, he was a tremendous player, and I done 100 in the decider.
Really?
I mean, it was a great match. I mean, really, all the pressure was on him, not on me. And after I'd beaten him, I knew I could win. That's the first time I thought, I can win this tournament. Up to then, I was just sort of being nice to be there sort of thing, you know.
Semi-finals, 4 players left. You,
Charlton,
Eddie Charlton.
John Virgo, who thought he
was going to win it.
Dennis, who thought he should win and play exhibition. He said, "Is he absolutely sure or what?"
Well, I don't know.
Live on another planet, Virgo, isn't he?
I don't know.
Anyway, he said,
and Dennis Taylor.
Yeah, and Dennis Taylor. So, I mean, at that stage, I knew I had a chance of winning the tournament.
But you knew you had the wherewithal. If you could beat Higgins, you could beat anybody.
Well, after beating Higgins, when he played well, that's what I turned professional for, to beat the best players in the world. And he was, at the time, certainly one of the best with Reardon. He was playing great stuff in those days, and he was, well, you know what he was like. He was a wonderful opponent.
Oh, a fantastic player. Dennis Taylor had knocked Ray Reardon out. Dennis must have,
right, yeah.
And Ray Reardon was the god of the game.
Yeah.
So Dennis must have fancied he was a chance to win.
Well, I think he was in the same position as the other ones. Charlton, who came so close many times, he had me at one stage. But because the pressure was on him to win, he couldn't clinch. Now, with me, when I got really tired in the middle of that match, and against Dennis, because it was too long for me, I just wasn't used to it, they didn't kill me off. But when I got a second breath, I thought, well, this is it now, isn't it? They couldn't beat me when I felt as if I couldn't see the ball. I was so tired.
You must have been very tired, let's face it, because you'd have been up at 5 in the morning, okay? Right? Because
Not quite to the
well,
Crucible.
because old habits die hard, right? And then all of a sudden, you're playing Eddie Charlton in the semis. And what time did that match finish?
It finished at 20-2, but that wasn't my record. My record was Thorburn at 20-4. But yeah, we didn't go on till 9, and we had 11 frames to play.
You and Nebby.
I mean, let's be honest. Charlton, myself, and Thorburn weren't the quickest players around. Let's be honest about it. But
I mean, I learned my trade from you.
Yeah, well, you weren't that great.
Well, I had to fall in line with you lot.
But when you put 2 safety players together like that,
it's diabolical.
I mean, it was hard work. I mean, it was hard grinding stuff. But I mean,
you must have been knackered.
Well, I was tired, but you get second breath. I mean, all of a sudden you think, hold on a minute, it's time to wake up here. I mean, at one stage when I played Dennis and Eddie Charlton I literally didn't know what I was doing. I was so tired.
The 6 colours to go as we approach 20-2 in the morning. His first entry into the championship. In the first round, he defeated us South African champion Perry Mons. A battle on the 25th frame, taking Alex Higgins. And now, to the roar of the audience, Terry Griffiths defeats the Australian champion to go through into the final at his first attempt.
Played well in the last few frames. I just couldn't get my rhythm earlier on because Eddie stops you playing, you know. I'm in the final now, you know.
Terry
I mean, obviously, you related. You come out with those famous words in the semi-final, which
I'm
actually
in the final now, you know. That's
well,
right. I with David Vine.
I mean, that captured the hearts of
Yeah,
you've just won a match against whatever time in the morning. David Vine's come on in his night shirt, I suppose.
Yeah, live. Yeah, that's right.
And said, how do you feel or whatever, and you've come out with the words that has just captured the, such not simple words, but just a lovely way of saying it.
Well, it's exactly how I felt, you see.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always done, like I'm doing with you now, I was very fortunate in my professional career that I could just come out and chat in front of television cameras and say what I felt. And that's what I done then. That's exactly how I felt. And it came out. People knew then that I was just there as a snooker player. All right, I may win the championships, but to say I'm in the final now, because I thought I'm in the final now, and that's exactly how you feel at the time, you know. But what it done, apart from me, it set me up in my professional life, you know. I was very fortunate in that respect. But what it did do, I think, it was the new televised, era then of snooker. I think people related to me as a working man, and that helped a lot, you know, to sort of bring the game back. And then it went into the 80s. It's the first time we had huge television hours. I was the man on the street. I won it, and all of a sudden the game just boomed, didn't it? You came and won in 81. And the game, Higgins won 82, the game just boomed.
Yes.
I mean, it's a wonderful time in professional snooker in the 80s, and we were very fortunate to be part of that, because it'll never, ever be like that again. It can't be that good again. Because we were going to abroad, we were pioneers, weren't we? We were setting up new countries, going to all these strange Far Eastern places. I mean, good God, from Llanelli, it was a bit much for me, you know, with all these places we went to. But they were very special years with Barry Hearn, weren't they? Very special.
They were as well. Look, but you did beat me on many occasions. We had some, but I think the worst, you said the worst moment in your career was, the worst moment in my career was the year you announced that you were going to retire. You beat me 3 times in professional play.
That's right.
What do you think that's done for my career?
Well,
the thought that you've said to yourself, right, it's ready. You said to yourself, I'm ready now to retire. I think it's the right time for me to bow out of the game gracefully.
Yeah.
Still in the top 32. Very unusual thing that's happened. You retired within the top 32, decided it was the right time to get out of the game, okay? And you stuffed me three times. Not once.
Yeah, but
I had another season after
I'm
that.
10. How old, you know? I'm 10 years
43.
older now. I mean, really, it was time for me to go. But my last season...
Why? You're still in the top 32.
But I always said if I ever went out to the top 16, I'd finish.
Right.
Because I knew my standards were dropping. I knew I wanted to do other things in my life. I'd had enough of travelling, really. I wanted to spend a bit more time with family. And I thought, I'm not going to win prizes the way I'm playing now. All right, I could play good in one match, and then the next game, you know, your consistency level went. But, I mean, I know I beat you 3 times, but really, that's why I retired, in case you beat me, see? So I beat you the last 3 times. I was only 47 wins behind you then. I never beat you in the Crucible. I would have liked to have beaten you in the Crucible. I tried hard to beat you in the Crucible.
You did, yes.
But I got close to you a few times, but I mean, to be honest, you were playing better snooker than anybody else at the time. And although perhaps you wouldn't appreciate it, I mean, I was the closest to you in the early 80s.
Certainly.
I mean, I was competing with you in the finals a lot. And I remember one final when I played really well in the semi, and I'd really fancied the job in the final in Preston. And I thought, you'd give me a few bumpings about. I mean, so what? It doesn't matter to me. I thought, let's see how good he is when I get close to him, because I'm playing well now, and I keep it close, put pressure on Steve, see how good he is then. Anyway, I lost 16-3 in the final, and I still can't work out to this day how I won the 3 frames. But it was so one-sided. I think it was, I don't know, Steve, 83, 84 perhaps. And I went home after crying for a long time, and I thought to myself, I can't put up with this. I don't want to be next best to Steve Davis, because I wasn't even bloody close to you, because I was playing good, if you understand. If I was playing bad, it'd be me 16-3, I mean, who cares? But when you're playing good, and then I was looking at the videos, and I just was not getting opportunities. I'm very realistic, as you know, so I don't think, well, he had a lucky day, or like, you know, I had flu or a bad tip and all those rubbish things. I really look at things and assess them properly. And I looked and I thought, I've got to do something. I've got to try and get better, which is what you've done, really, in the 80s, and Stephen's done it in the 90s, hasn't he, Stephen Hendry? He's brought people, he's made his fellow professionals, same as you've done. I went home and thought, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm going to look at ways of getting better. I'm going to play more. I'm going to go into the technical side. I'm going to become more technical minded. I'm going to work harder, and I'm going to beat you. I mean, that would just drive me forward. It was you, obviously,
right,
like Stephen has done in the 90s. He drives his fellow professionals forward. And by doing that, it put, I don't know, perhaps another 5 years on my career. If I hadn't done that, I would have finished earlier. But I didn't achieve then the same things that I did before my technical changes. If you
what about the
understand.
enjoyment? Did the enjoyment change? Because I know you're very much into the technical. Did you then start to enjoy snooker in a different way once you started delving into the technical game?
Yeah, what happened was I started trying technical changes by myself. I had some knowledge, obviously, but I should have gone to a coach. But at the time, I didn't. And there were spells. I changed everything. I mean, I changed my focus in my eyes, which is huge, as you know. I changed my grip. I changed the way I delivered the cue. These are huge technical changes.
Hair stayed the same?
Hair almost stayed the same. It started to fall out after a little while. But what happened was, at one stage, I was unbeatable, I'm telling you, in practice. Unbeatable. Because I got a technique honed. I used to play 7-8 hours a day, solo.
Did you?
In those days.
Did you?
Yeah, I used to love it. But in the end, I wanted my technique to be perfect. I forgot I had to win the match. And really, like you say, you get honed into your technique. And when you come into a match, next thing your technique doesn't work the same because it's not so natural. And it kept me playing for a lot of years, but it stopped me winning events. I think I'd have won more events if I hadn't gone into the technical side. But I don't regret it because I loved every minute of that. I found it fascinating, and I find it fascinating still to watch players, see how different they are with the techniques, what the things they do with the cue ball. And that's why I was one of the great watchers, as you know, on the circuit. I used to be in there watching, and most of the players wouldn't watch. I used to love it. I was fascinated by the game itself, you know, and I used to like the expressions. I look at the players when they won or when they lost or when they missed a pot, and I just sit and study them. I found it fascinating, you know, which is why I suppose is I can't believe I finished playing snooker. You know, I haven't played for 3 years now, but I would have bet all my family, all my houses, whatever, that I would have never stopped playing the game. And I have. I haven't played for 3 years. Amazing.
But it's always been a great pleasure to play against you. A great gentleman on the table.
Thank you.
Great sportsman. There's never a bad word said about Terry Griffiths on the snooker circuit. You've got the respect of everybody. You must be proud of that.
Yes, very proud. Yeah, it's a long time. It's a long time, 20 years. And no, that's good. That's nice of you to say that. But it's something that my father always used to say when you go and play snooker. He said, always come out to the club and behave the way that you'd be welcome to go back into it. And it's very true that, even in the professional game.
Well, you've certainly done that.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Steve.